I will make it more clear. We were discussing how divinity acts as that toy weebles that wobble but they don't fall down. And that Dweebles work on the concept of a weighted toy, and that the heavy weight at the bottom, allows it to, even though things are happening, for it to always align to the weightedness. In this time space, I will call them philosophies. They are more than just philosophies. They are considered moral compasses and boundaries and such. But we will just use their philosophies. The concept is that love is that which everything spins around, works around, and it is of the most important element. It is not truly separated in divinity, for it is really just one thing. But you have become skewed in this idea of love. The heaviest weightedness of divinity, would be what you would call truth and fairness. Truth and fairness is more stabilizing than, and more aligning than love. Love, that is it, the quality as it is understood and fair, is a beautiful thing, but it's more of it is not the heaviest or most stabilizing thing. Look at a child that may be in a loving home with loving family. If that child experiences what it sees as something that is dishonest or not fair, the crack that forms in their divinity and is stronger. And if they wobble, it will cause more of a wobble than anything else. Lies or unfairness creates a stronger, more profound reaction in divinity than anything else. If a child experiences something where they consider it as not fair, if a child, an animal, anything experiences that which is not fair, as you would call it, the gut reaction is extremely fast and strong to realign to divinity. You know that. Have somebody at your place of work that's doing the same thing as you, or who's doing something not as good as you, and yet they get more money. What immediately when you find that out, what is that reaction? That is your divinity screaming out. Justice is very important, and it is very much the weight. And truth and justice are very much the same thing. They are aligned. If you experience a dishonesty, I will call it dishonesty rather than just lies, because in your separation you actually define and put parameters on everything. Lies would be too limiting. Dishonesty would be a more accurate term, though it does not sound as strong as lies when it is spoken there. It is the best word. When you have become acclimated to dishonesty to a certain level, and this has kept you most distorted, there is a lot of rationalizations with dishonesty, and writing up perspectives to yourself to allow dishonesty or unfairness. In some ways, these are the things that you more quickly know how to balance. Just look at your popular movies and television shows. So many of them are based upon the concept of there is something that is unfair, and making it fair is the whole premise of the show. If you look at your books, your entertainment, making of it fair is the premise of all of your books. That is what is. So do not focus first and think, oh, I need to work on being more loving. I need to try to do things loving. Loving is important and it is an element. But truth, honesty, fairness is, from your perspective, at this point of the realigning and the maintaining of the realignment, is of more importance. Because it demands quicker aligning, it is easy to have distortions attached to this point of justice, fairness, and truth. To say, this is okay because even in the place where you are, that those stories, the majority of you cannot, your divinity would not allow you to exist if it accepted that you were actually dishonest and not fair. You must always write a story to yourself to make yourself believe you are fair and honest, or that it is in some way. Such as, I am allowed to say this lie because of. I'm allowed to do this because they were that way first. They do this, and because they do this, the only way things can be fair is if I do this. These are very big rationalizations that are attached to your sense of truth, fairness. You will, and this is what is going to be funny for you to hear and understand. As you reach 100% realignment, these are going to be the hardest distortions for you to accept. Because once the 100% realignment occurs and the distortions are all removed, then whenever there is an experience of what seems to be unfair, and it's not that there will not be something that doesn't seem to be unfair, because everything everywhere is moving, but there's always balancing. So you will experience something, but your reaction to it will have your divinity will pull you one way very strongly, and by the way you have muscle memory learned to deal with it, you will most likely try to bring back your distortions. This is the danger point from the perspective of a soul identity. Because if you cannot exist in 100% fairness and honesty, and the distortion continues to pull in, then that is when you will experience this insanity and pulling into the singularity. She thought that the she was feeling was based upon herself, and there was an element of the things that she had experienced that were of the unfair and dishonest nature. But she has as she is divine and has been fully in the divinity, she has always had that strong divine balancing point. These things would come up. There is a lot of divine wobbling going on. And because the element of fairness we will just limit it right now to just the planet, is very off kilter. It is very off kilter. It was going to take a very big wobbles to realign to 100% fairness and truth on your planet. This is not going to extend over periods of time, because we have learned that does not work. We had already instituted, and over the past, for some time now, we have been working on this realigning over time to bring truth and fairness to the systems that you had already had in place, so that you could naturally work back to where you needed to be. The problem we have found with every time there was a big wobble, such as a revolution, a movement, It would start off trying to bring the realignment to fairness and truth, but the distortions would quickly come in and overtake it, and it would become weakened, and that which it had originally intended to do became, instead of seeing it as a bringing balance to everything, it began to be seen as strategy, like in a chess game. And others, the ones that we were trying to balance out and bring them back in line with fairness and truth, because their dissociations were so strong, would undermine the divine wobbling, and would not, instead of seeing it as divine wobbling, they saw it as an opportunity to try to reassert a new strategy to get back to where they wanted to be and recreate that which we were taking down. This has happened over and over and over and over again. So this time, the divine wobble will not allow these strategies to come in. There is going to be a divine wobbling that will occur over your entire, we will say use, because this is where you are experiencing, and this is all you are really aware of it in the physical, for the majority, all over the entire earth, and all it is. There will be no rich houses on the tops of the hills, poor people in shanty towns below. There will be no people are living at one level of existence and animals at another. There will be no people on this area have more security than those other people. There is one thing, who's going to get it. It will either be everyone gets it or no one gets it. And that is just how it will be. There will still be individuality, because throughout the divine and all that's created, there's always individuality and differences, and so it is not saying that everything will become a homogenized blah, 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 because that is not divine at all either. The ideas of those of, she is saying I should not use this because it will trigger too many, but they need to be triggered. So I'm going to use it. The idea concept that has come up many times before in your, as you understand it, Earth experiment, of communism, of everything belonging to everyone and sharing. It was not allowed to work the way it was intended to work, because those who always seek to be unfair and have more strategized and undermined it. And instead of it all being everyone working together in harmony and creativity and individuality, it became of how can we control the masses and make everybody do what we think they should do. And that was not what was intended by that wobble. The wobble was the most supposed to bring out that you are all one society, one group, and that what happens to the lowest happens to the highest, but in an amplified manner. You did not get that. Some people liked the philosophies of it and understood and recognized the truth that was in there and the wisdom that was in there, the divinity that was in there. But in trying to put it into practice, it didn't work. It became a control mechanism, which is always how the distortions, those who controlled, have done it. Everything is about to experience the wobble of justice, fairness. This is in everything. Things that you have laws for, things that you have no laws for. Because from our perspective, someone who lies to someone else in a romantic nature to attain a physical relationship, that is of a far worse crime than someone who steals $1,000. We do not really use the word crime, but we're trying to get the point across to you of how serious this is. And so that is why we are using those words, because crime is not really a thing. If it were, your entire world would be a crime. So, there is going to be a very rapid, very strong wobbles. Understand, this is the truth, fairness, wobbling. That's going to be given the freedom that it needs to bring this about. In that freedom, everything wobbles. From the smallest molecule, atom, quark, whatever, to the largest, what do you call them? Structures, organizations. We'll go organizations. Fairness will occur because it cannot not occur. There will be no issue that justice and truth will not come into. There can be, this is important, there can be no agreement by all parties that it is okay and forgiven or looked past or taken care of, and so therefore we don't have to do it. Because we are not speaking from a point of rationalizations, rules, and ideas and thoughts. We are talking about divine balance of justice and truth. So even if all sides that were involved in rectifying an injustice came to an agreement, those agreements were made in distortions and are nullified. They are not seen as having any value at all. That is why she has never liked the term or the procedure used there called forgiveness. Because you cannot choose forgiveness. It is not a choice. It is not a decision. It either fairness and truth have happened or fairness and truth have not happened. And if there is no fairness and truth, then there can be no real forgiveness. That is a rationalization put in place to try to deal with the wobbling. So this means that even if someone has said, I want to be forgiving, I do not want to hold on to this. But if there has ever been, and I mean ever been an imbalance, and it is still imbalanced, no matter what you've put on it, around it, or try to say is happening. If you take a weeble and you put it in a bed of sand and you put little sticks around it to hold it at a funny angle and said, okay, now everything's forgiven, everything is right, we've got it stabilized. Is that weeble stabilized? No, it is falsely and what is that word? Artificially stabilized. But it is not in working with the weightedness of the weeble. We are removing all of the sand and stakes and laws and rules and moral philosophies. It is just going to be divinity. And that means the wobbles must occur. And the wobbles will only stop when everything is aligned. That is why we told you, release the truisms. Release the truisms, because ideas about what is true or false or right or wrong are going away. Only what is divine will remain. Only what is divine will always realign. And it will not realign through complicated, artificial means to balance.